Hello everyone, and welcome to my build guide for Xinyan. She doesn't have the best reputation amongst Genshin characters, but that's why I chose to start with her for my guides. Because despite not being generally loved, every character has a group of people with them as their favorite, and this one is for all the Xinyan lovers out there. First, let's go over what Xinyan actually does. She's a Pyro Claymore character who has a fairly diverse kit. Her normal attacks are pretty normal, there's nothing particularly special about them, and you most likely won't be using them too much even when it comes to building her as a DPS. What you would be using in that case are her charge attacks, which is the classic Claymore spin to win with pretty good scaling. Her elemental skill generates a shield for herself, and something unique to Xinyan that, while really cool, isn't as good as it should be, is that her shield scales normally with defense, but it also scales with the amount of enemies hit, up to 3 at base, with Ascension talents that's lowered to 2. The max shield also gives off a small AoE of pyro damage every couple of seconds. Her burst is a quick instance of large physical damage followed by some smaller hits of pyro, and her last Ascension talent increases the physical damage of whoever is in her shield. Her constellations are pretty various in what builds they promote, so let's go over them really quickly. Her C1 speeds up her normal and charge attacks after scoring a crit. This is most helpful in DPS builds and has some synergy with her C2, which guarantees the first hit of her burst, the larger physical portion, will always crit and will generate a max level shield for her. This constellation is in my opinion the most important overall and helps almost every playstyle. Her C3 and C5 are the usual skill and burst levels respectively. Her C4 makes it so her skill swing lowers enemies' physical resistance for 12 seconds. This is useful for both her physical buffing and her physical DPS builds. Her C6 lowers her charge attack stamina usage and makes it scale with her defense. This is most useful for her DPS build, but it is still more often better to treat the defense scaling as a bonus while focusing on attack stats when building her. As you can see, she's got a lot going on in her kit, so it opens her up to a lot of different playstyles. We're going to go over some of these right now, and while these are my recommendations, always feel free to play her however you want for your own enjoyment. The first build I'm going to go over today is a more traditional shielding build. This is also the build you want to go with if you're looking to make her a physical buffer thanks to her constellations and ascension talents. If you're going for maximum shielding, you're going to always want to build her with defense in mind. Without constellations or for maximizing physical buffing, I'd very much recommend using the Sacrificial Greatsword. This might sound contradictory since it has an ER substat and the white blind exists and is easily craftable. But the thing is, Xinyan has really low uptime on her shield, even when you hit multiple enemies. Having the Sacrificial Greatsword will let her have a second shield and second swing on her E, greatly increasing her buff's uptimes. At C2, however, this does kinda change. I'd recommend running her with the Favonius Sword for 2 big reasons. One is the utility it gives, in that it will always give your team 6 free large white particles with no crit investment in her, thanks to her guaranteed crit on burst. It'll also give her more ER so that she could use said burst more often. For the artifact sets, there's a pretty good variety you could choose from. Although I wouldn't recommend it, she's a viable runner of the 4-piece tenacity set, since the AoE from her max shield can proc it. At C2, she's also a decent user of the 4-piece noblesse set if your team is lacking one. In general though, I'd recommend running her 4-piece Husk of Arcane Dreams, or 2-piece Husk and 2-piece Emblem of Subtle Fate at C2. For the specific pieces, I'd say to go for defense on all 3 of the changeable pieces, with maybe changing out the sands for an energy recharge piece for your C2 if you're not having good enough uptime. The rest of Xinyan's builds are a lot more straightforward, starting with building her as a main DPS. Weapon-wise, I'd recommend going basically any 5-star weapon if you have them. Otherwise, I'd say the Serpent Spine or the Prototype Archaic are the best options for a DPS, with the option of running Black Cliff if you have it. You want to have her going physical damage, but you could run her elemental damage if you really want to use that C6 Benny or Chongyun. In those niche cases, you want to run her 2-piece Crimson Witch, 2-piece Attack Percent, or 2-piece Blizzard Strayer, 2-piece Attack Percent, respectively. Although with Chongyun, I'd really recommend running her 4-piece Blizzard Strayer because of all the crit rate you'll get from it. In general though, you'll get the best results from running her physical because of how her kit already is made to buff physical damage. In that case, you'll want to run her 2-piece Bloodstained Chivalry and 2-piece Pale Flame. For the pieces, you'll want an attack stance, a goblet that boosts whatever damage element you're going with, whether that be Pyro, Cryo, or the recommended physical. And lastly, you'll want to run the crown with whatever crit stat you need more of, between crit rate or crit damage. Also to note, if you have a C6 Xinyan, the defense rolls on artifacts are not actually bad. Another build you could go for is building Xinyan for a Burgeon team. This is the build I would recommend by far the least, but this is for anyone who just wants to use some of their favorite characters together. If Xinyan is going to be the one causing your Burgeons, you want to maximize her elemental mastery as much as possible, and there are relatively few weapons I would recommend for this. You most likely want to run a Rain Slasher, the new Aquamarine Claymore, or the Forest Regalia. For her artifacts, there are 3 ways that I'd recommend to build her. Either 4-piece Gilded Dreams, 2-piece Gilded Dreams and 2-piece Wanderer's Trope, or finally 4-piece Deepwood if no one else on your team can run it. On the pieces, you'll just want to maximize all elemental mastery you can. If you have her C2 for this, you could also consider running more recharge since you can't consistently get her max level shield on enemies with just her skill. You could also build her to a Pyro and then have an Anemo character be the one to proc Burgeon through Pyro Swirls. In this case, I'd recommend going for recharge weapons or building her the same way in my shielder section in general, while maybe adding in the Forest Regalia as a weapon choice and the 4-piece Deepwood Memories for an artifact set choice. The last build I'll go over this video is a Nuke build, where you really try to capitalize on Xinyan's C2 physical portion. It's pretty simple to build around since all you really need is crit damage, physical damage, and attack bonuses. You want to focus on weapons that increase damage and attack for this, so for 4 stars either Prototype or Snow Tuned will give good results for craftables. You can also go for the luxurious Sea Lord, as that's pretty easy and consistent to get. If you buy it from the Star Glitter shop, the Black Cliff Claymore is also a pretty good choice for its crit stats. Any 5 star should do well, even the Stone Thresher for the same reason as the Black Cliff Claymore. If you're having trouble with getting your burst off cooldown, then I recommend trying to build more recharge into your set, whether that be through artifacts, weapons, or party members running Favonius weapons or being batteries otherwise. Besides that, you want to maximize your crit stats and attack while obviously running a physical goblet. You also have a decent amount of options for artifact sets depending on what good ones you have available. 4-piece Emblem is an option, as well as 2-piece sets for any of the attack resistant artifacts. You can also do 2-piece Noblesse or 2-piece of any of the physical damage boosting artifacts. Really, any 2 pieces of the sets I've mentioned besides Emblem would be a good choice, just choose whichever you have the best substats and results with. As you can see, there are plenty of ways to build Xinyan however you want. If you found this guide helpful in any way, please leave a like on the video and subscribe for more. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, please leave a comment. I love talking about this game, so I'm likely to reply if it's something I could reply to. I look forward to any feedback, and with that, goodbye everyone, have a great day.